Assalamu alaikum students. Our today's topic is gross anatomy of submandibular region. So let's start with the topic. First of all, there is introduction of submandibular region. It is present in between the mandible and hyoid bone. Now this whole region in between the mandible and hyoid bone is the submandibular region, and it includes the floor of mouth and root of tongue. Submandibular region contains suprahyoid muscles, submandibular and sublingual glands, and submandibular ganglion. In this diagram you can see these suprahyoid muscles and submandibular gland. Suprahyoid muscles already discussed with you. Today we will study or discuss the submandibular and sublingual salivary glands as well as the submandibular ganglion. There are three salivary glands which are parotid, submandibular and sublingual gland. Parotid gland is already discussed with you. Today we will study the submandibular and sublingual glands. So first of all we will discuss the location of the submandibular gland, that where it is present. It is situated in the anterior part of the digastric triangle. Okay, now look at this diagram. Here you can see this digastric triangle which is formed by the anterior belly of the digastric and posterior belly of the digastric and base of mandible. ठीक है, base of mandible यहाँ पे कट की गई है. यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं in the anterior part of the digastric triangle, this is the submandibular gland, and it is indented by the mylohyoid muscle, and it is roughly J-shaped muscle and is being indented by this mylohyoid muscle, which divides the submandibular gland into a superficial and a deep part. Superficial part lies superficial to the mylohyoid muscle and is larger than the deep part which lies deep to the mylohyoid muscle. In this next diagram you can see the posterior view. Here the deep part of the submandibular gland is more prominent, and it is continuous with the superficial part of the submandibular gland. In between this is the mylohyoid muscle. Now the facial covering of the submandibular gland. The gland is partially enclosed between two layers of deep cervical fascia. When we have discussed the deep cervical fascia, we discussed that investing layer of deep cervical fascia splits in superficial and a deep layer. Superficial layer is attached to the base of the mandible and deep layer is attached to this mylohyoid line. Superficial layer, here you can see, covers the superficial or inferior surface of the submandibular gland, and the deep layer covers the medial surface of the submandibular gland, while this lateral surface is in direct contact with the mandible. Now the superficial part of the submandibular gland. It fills the anterior part of the digastric triangle and extends upwards deep to the mandible up to the mylohyoid line. And it has three surfaces: inferior or superficial surface, medial surface, and lateral surface. In this diagram you can see this is the superficial or inferior surface, and this is the medial surface which is related to the mylohyoid muscle, and this is the lateral surface which is in contact with the mandibular fossa of the mandible. Now the relations of each surface is very important. First we will discuss the relations of the superficial or inferior surface. Here you can see that this is the superficial or inferior surface of the submandibular gland. From outside to inside it is related to the skin and platysma. This is platysma. Next to the platysma there is superficial fascia and facial vein. Here is the cervical branch of facial nerve. Then the superficial layer of the investing layer of deep cervical fascia, and there is submandibular lymph node. Now the lateral surface of the submandibular gland. This is the lateral surface of the submandibular gland, and it is related with the submandibular fossa on the mandible, along with the insertion of the medial pterygoid muscle and the facial artery. Here you can see the facial artery, and submandibular fossa is related to the lateral surface of the submandibular gland. And now the relations of the medial surface of the submandibular gland, which is related to the mylohyoid muscle along with its nerve and vessels, and hyoglossus muscle and styloglossus muscle from before backwards, and inferiorly this surface overlaps to the stylohyoid and posterior belly of the digastric muscle. Now the deep part of the submandibular gland. It lies deep to the mylohyoid muscle and superficial to hyoglossus and styloglossus muscle. Here the mylohyoid muscle is cut, and you can see that deep part of submandibular gland lies superficial to the styloglossus muscle, and relations of the deep part of the submandibular gland are very important from the written point of view. Laterally it is related to the mylohyoid, medially hyoglossus, above lingual nerve along with the submandibular ganglion, and below the hypoglossal nerve. Submandibular duct or Wharton's duct. It is thin walled and is about 5 cm long. It emerges at the anterior end of the deep part of gland, runs forward on the hyoglossus between lingual and hypoglossal nerves. Here you can see the submandibular duct. It emerges from the anterior end of the deep part of submandibular gland, runs forwards and upwards on the hyoglossus muscle, and at its anterior end it is crossed by the lingual nerve. This duct is present in between the lingual and hypoglossal nerves, and it opens on the floor of the mouth at the summit of the sublingual papilla on the side of the frenulum of the tongue. Here you can see the frenulum of the tongue, and here you can see the opening of the submandibular duct at the sublingual papilla. Blood supply and lymphatic drainage of submandibular gland. It is supplied by the facial artery. The veins drain into the common facial vein or lingual vein. Lymph passes to submandibular lymph nodes. Nerve supply. It is supplied by branches from submandibular ganglion. These branches convey sensory fibers from the lingual nerve, vasomotor sympathetic fibers from the plexus on the facial artery, and parasympathetic secretomotor fibers. Okay, now in this diagram you can see how these parasympathetic fibers travel. These parasympathetic fibers arises from the superior salivatory nucleus, and then they travel through the nervus intermedius of the facial nerve, and then the chorda tympani branch of the facial nerve. Then these fibers join the lingual nerve and enter the submandibular ganglion. Here these fibers relay, and from the submandibular ganglion the postganglionic fibers arises and supply the submandibular gland. Another content of the submandibular region is the submandibular ganglion, which is a parasympathetic peripheral ganglion. It is a small and fusiform in shape and is situated above the deep portion of the submandibular gland on the hyoglossus muscle, suspended from lingual nerve by two roots, anterior and posterior. Now look at this diagram. Here you can see the hyoglossus muscle, and submandibular ganglion lies on the hyoglossus muscle just above the deep part of the submandibular gland, and it is suspended from the lingual nerve by two roots, anterior and posterior roots. This is the lingual nerve and this is the submandibular ganglion. Submandibular ganglion is topographically related with the lingual nerve, but it is functionally related with the facial nerve. It contains three types of fibers: parasympathetic, sympathetic fibers and sensory fibers. Parasympathetic preganglionic fibers arises from the superior salivatory nucleus, then they travel along the facial nerve, its chorda tympani branch, and then join the lingual nerve to reach the submandibular ganglion, and these fibers relay in the submandibular ganglion. Sympathetic fibers derived from the plexus around the facial and lingual arteries, and these are the postganglionic fibers from the superior cervical sympathetic ganglion, and they reach the submandibular ganglion, but they do not relay in the ganglion. Sensory fibers also reach the gland through the lingual nerve, and they also do not relay in the ganglion. Now this diagram shows the connection and branches of the submandibular ganglion. As I already told you that a submandibular ganglion contains three roots: parasympathetic, sympathetic and sensory root. Parasympathetic preganglionic fibers arises from the superior salivatory nucleus, and they travel along the facial nerve, its chorda tympani branch, and then they join the lingual nerve and reach the submandibular ganglion through the posterior root. The fibers relay here, and the postganglionic fibers arises and reach the gland, submandibular gland. Now some postganglionic fibers re-enter the lingual nerve through the anterior root to reach the sublingual gland. Okay, यही fibers जो हैं parasympathetic fibers, ये sublingual gland को भी secretomotor fibers जो हैं वो supply कर रहे हैं. Now the sympathetic root. Sympathetic fibers arises from the superior cervical sympathetic ganglion, and these are the postganglionic fibers, and they form the plexus around the facial artery, and they reach the submandibular ganglion. They do not relay here and reach the submandibular gland, and the sensory fibers reach the submandibular gland through the lingual nerve. Now the sublingual salivary gland, it is also the paired and smallest of the three salivary glands. It lies above the mylohyoid and below the mucosa of the floor of the mouth. And look at this diagram. Here you can see the relations of the sublingual gland. This is the sublingual gland, and in this diagram you can see the relations. In front, this sublingual gland meet with the opposite side gland, and behind it comes in contact with the deeper part of the submandibular gland. Below there is a mylohyoid muscle, and above there is the mucous membrane of the mouth. Laterally this is the cut end of the mandible, and laterally it is related with the sublingual fossa on the mandible, and medially it is related with the genioglossus muscle, which is a fan shaped muscle of the tongue. Numerous small sublingual ducts open into the floor of the mouth along the sublingual folds. Here you can see the sublingual folds with opening of the sublingual ducts. The arterial supply of the sublingual glands is from the sublingual and submental arteries, and nerve supply is similar to that of submandibular gland, which I already discussed with you in previous slide. Now the most important clinical correlate of the submandibular gland is the sialolithiasis, which is also called salivary calculi or salivary stones. This is the formation of calculus and is more common in submandibular duct than in parotid duct. It is because the submandibular duct ascends to open into the floor of mouth against gravity, which affects its drainage. Secondly, its secretion is more viscous. A stone in the submandibular duct can be palpated by bimanually in the floor of the mouth and can even be seen if sufficiently large. Here in this diagram you can see a large stone impacted in the submandibular duct in the floor of the mouth. For excision of submandibular gland because of a calculus in its duct or a tumor in the gland, skin incision is made at least 2.5 cm inferior to the angle of the mandible to avoid injury to the marginal mandibular branch of the facial nerve. Caution must also be taken not to injure the lingual nerve while incising the duct, because the duct passes directly over the nerve inferior to the neck of third molar tooth. How can the swelling due to enlarged submandibular lymph nodes be differentiated from the swellings of the submandibular gland? Swellings of the submandibular gland can be palpated bimanually by putting index finger in the floor of mouth and thumb below the lower jaw in front of the angle of mandible, because deep part is palpable from oral cavity and superficial part from outside. Now this diagram shows the bimanual palpation of the submandibular gland by putting one index finger in the floor of the mouth and the other below the angle of the mandible, and whereas the enlarged lymph nodes can be palpated only from the outside below the lower jaw. Enlarged lymph nodes could be a result of carcinoma or an infection, and in this diagram you can see the palpation of the enlarged lymph node from the outside. That's all for today. Thank you.